Hello and welcome to the Election Corner on One Man Think Tank. I'll warn you ahead of time, I do have a bit of a head cold, so I'm sorry for any coughs or throat clearings that might happen mid-video. Now, more importantly, the Democrats are missing an amazing opportunity to use the Republicans' words against them. For those of you who haven't been paying much attention to the news, the Republicans have been absolutely, almost insanely, trying to get a voter fraud lawsuit to actually work. They have tried many different things, such as they hid the ballots, they tore up ballots, they, made up new ballots, and now they're going, you know what's really messed up? Voting machines. Now, of course, only in states we lost, but, voting machines. Now, what they're referring to is voting tabulation machines, which are used in every state due to the fact that your average ballot in the US has about 8 options on it, and if you're hand counting a couple million per state, you could get some errors by hand counts. So, machines work faster. Now, your average American, when they hear that, doesn't think voting tabulation machines. They, in fact, think of something else. Vote counting machines. You know when you walk into a place and you push a button and it spits out a ballot for you, or it's just on the computer? That's what they think of when they hear voting machines. Now, in many states, what you do now is you get a Scantron sheet like you had in school, you bubble in who you want, and then you give it to the person who submits it for you in front of you so you can see it's been accepted. Now, that little difference is an amazing opportunity for the Democrats because all they need to do is take this and run with it. Say they're going to announce their own lawsuit and they'd love Republicans to join, saying every state which conducted their elections without total paper ballots, I mean, paper ballots are safe, it keeps them safe from outsiders, should have to redo all of their all of their federal level elections for that state. That includes House, Senate, and presidency. So let's just start with this, and then we'll explain why this map looks so good in a moment. So, all of these states, you'll have to give me a moment, I am double checking with the voter verifier. Amazing resource, by the way. It's on verifiedvoting.org. It's called the Vote Verifier. It shows you how your state calculates ballots. In this case, I'm saying every state which doesn't use 100% paper ballots in some way, shape, or form has to redo its election. Because you don't know how much the ballots have been tampered with, of course. And would you look at that? And let's also pop over to the Senate to make our changes there. Oops, sorry. I think that's what Republicans imagine would happen in this scenario, but let's go through. Here, oh, Illinois, Jersey, and Delaware. Okay, so this overall doesn't look amazing. We're essentially relitigating the presidential election. However, there is one key caveat Democrats can throw in that could really, really mess with the GOP. Because of COVID, some states neglected to use their normal voting systems, instead opting to use all-mail voting, all vote by mail, where you get mailed a ballot to you. So, that means in certain states, they did have all paper ballot elections. And these states are Nevada, California, New Jersey, Utah, and and Hawaii. So let's make our brief updates here, which is essentially Jersey. Let's go back. Now, this map still is contested, but it looks a lot better than before. And especially well when you consider... Two very blue states are on the board that will put the Democrats over 270. Now, Republicans could win back Georgia. Oh, and I should make a note. What would happen in this scenario is, in order to ensure the integrity of elections, all seats in these states that are unacceptable should remain vacant until a new election can be held. And until a new president can be decided, Nancy Pelosi should take over as president of the U.S. as an acting role until the election can be decided. So Democrats control the presidency in this scenario. With this map, they're controlling the House. And with this map, they're controlling the Senate. All of a sudden... Ooh, actually, they're controlling the Senate by a little bit more. I forgot to not include Kansas. This is a very good map for the Democrats because it also lets them relitigate states like North Carolina, which were very close. Maybe make Texas more of a fight, and not to mention, it's an off-year election by this point, meaning not everyone's going to show up. That's a big deal. So, why is this so good for the Democrats? Like I said, already, it initially gives them up to 60 days of control of the House, presidency, and Senate. That's a lot of legislation they can pass. Because a quorum is more than 50% of the Senate, and 50% of the House. And more than that can show up, especially if Republicans want to try and do a quorum call, which is essentially a representative goes, "How many people are here?" And everyone has to say if they're there or not. And if it's under 50%, they can't proceed with daily procedure. So if all of the Republicans leave the Senate, for example, to protest there not being a quorum, the Democrats can just do business and never call a quorum. It's a little tiny political fact, but already this map opens up so much ground for the Democrats because we already know they'll win Illinois and Delaware. And if we look at this map, we already know they win Delaware. There. And Illinois. They lose nothing. At all. All they've done is required national paper ballots. And there's nothing stopping them from passing their big Voting Rights Act and the Voting Rights Advancement Act and the For the People Act, which would require that there be no excuse absentee voting. All paper ballots are used. The whole 9 yards. And that would really screw up GOP voter suppression efforts in the Deep South, let me tell you. And notice, this is really hurting GOP areas because they're the ones who engage in suppression and voter manipulation tactics. So Democrats are pretty safe. And that's not even factoring in. They're likely to win Pennsylvania again, putting them up to 290 at the very least. The only state that would be really in danger for Joe Biden would be Georgia. But also, let's seriously take a look at this. Like I said, Democrats have a floor right now of being the same at where they are in the Senate, winning the presidency, and winning the House. There is no downside to this if they could get this argument into, like, a federal court to require a new election. And while the GOP has plenty of safe seats at the presidential level, this does make certain seats more contested again. Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio all go back on the board almost immediately just by the amount of seats that could be contested. If Democrats just focused in on Georgia and North Carolina in both the Senate and the presidency, they could, sorry, I'm just eliminating non-contested states, they could very easily gain a seat in the Senate and gain a seat for the presidential election. If they're feeling really gung-ho, they could try and flip Texas. Not saying they could, but they could try. And also, it gives them an opportunity to go after Mitch McConnell again in a much smaller field. They could really run him down. And I'm also assuming Lindsey Graham's going to maintain his seat, but you could just fire Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell, have big campaigns about just voting them out. Make the election about them, not about some recontested presidential election that Republicans know they'll lose. And that could flip the Senate. That's what this is about, flipping the Senate, plus maybe gaining a few more seats in the House. So, that's why the Democrats should be suing about voter fraud. So, with all that being said, if you like the video, drop a like down below. Also, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to hear more from me outside of YouTube, I do have a Twitter, at OneManThinkTan1, the Roman numeral. If you want to hear more from me from YouTube, click the subscribe button and the notification bell. And, as always, and most importantly, have a wonderful day.